Our sponsors for this episode are Absolute Drain. Look, no one, and I mean no one, likes it when their sink, bathtub, washing machine, or especially their toilets start backing up. It's even worse when they won't drain or flush at all. No matter who you are, it happens to us all. If this is happening to you, then you need to give Garth with Absolute Drain a call. Absolute Drain is located at 420 West Broadway in Newton and has been faithfully serving Newton and surrounding areas for longer than I can even remember. I personally use Absolute Drain, and they have kept my pipes cleaned out and flowing day one. It might just be time for you to give them a call too at 316-283-7264. That's 316-283-7264. Or just remember this, 316-28-DRAIN. Absolute Drain. Is your AC or heating system just not keeping up? Maybe it's not keeping your home or business as cold or hot as it once did. It could also be that all you're looking for is a reliable, trustworthy, and affordable technician to check on your system and do whatever maintenance necessary to ensure it's working as efficiently and effectively as possible. If so, give Air Quality Control a call at 316-285-3304. That's Air Quality Control, 316-285-3304 for all your air quality control needs. Hall's Tree Service. Locally owned and operated, Hall's Tree Service has been exceeding and surpassing customer demands in Newton and the surrounding area for over 40 years. Larry and his crew are guaranteed to work hard for you. There's no tree too tall, no job too small. Call Hall's at 316-772-1919. Remember, there's no tree too tall, no job too small. Call Hall's at 316-772-1919. Well, hello, everybody, and hello, Andy and Chad. How was your week this week?
It's time to get political.
We had a break, but there's just too much. There's too much going on.
Oh my gosh, the drama.
But it is that time to get political, given the fact that, we're coming up on the filing deadline. I hope that people have heeded the call. They're wanting to be invested. They're wanting to be informed. They're wanting to make sure that when it comes time to pick individuals that we're going to elect, that you do your due diligence, and we're going to talk a lot about that on the program. But
so shameless plug. I got my hat on. I got my mug. I rock everywhere I go.
This guy can't be any more Newton, people. This guy can't be any more Newton.
Got the and all the stuff. Okay, so I did file. I jumped back in the swamp again, and I will keep trudging through the swamp. So
gotta have
a lot to do. So yeah, I will be running for the school board again. So shameless plug. Let's get this done.
I'm glad. I kind of hinted at it a couple times, hoping that you would. I know it's a thankless job. I really, my heart goes out to people that go through that process, that put their name out there to run for office. Anybody that does that then becomes in the town square for everybody to throw rocks at if they want to throw rocks at him. And at the end of that, they just say have to be true, which also then, filters into some of the stuff we're going to talk about on the program. But thank you, Andy. I appreciate it. I feel like you've done a very good job. I think that you have done so with, I don't agree with everything you've ever done,
right?
Obviously.
Yeah.
But
I appreciate that.
To know that you're somebody who, informs themselves, does the best to educate themselves, and make a decision when it's time to make a decision in a way that you feel is beneficial to all concerned.
Well, I think people know that I do my best, and I've had talks with people that you would consider probably people that are adversaries to the way I think and my way I live my life, as far as being a little more conservative than a lot of people. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty open-minded, and people that talk to me and we have those discussions, they know that. And I've also learned not to have an agenda and look for things the best I can for what they are, knowing that I have my own personal leanings, but being open about that. And I don't have one axe to grind. I really don't.
That was what was coming to mind.
I just don't.
Campaign slogan, no axe to grind.
And it's not worth it. I don't have one issue. I have 20, and they all need work, and I can only do so much. And I think people want reasonable people. to come to the table, and I'm trying my best to be that person for the greater good of the whole. Because I do have my personal leanings, and people that know me, you guys know that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when it comes to decision making, I look at those decisions for how do we leave this thing better than we found it, and that's been hard because there's a lot of tit for tat that happens when you're behind the scenes in what we do, and there's a lot of when you come into something and you don't have experience serving in other places, it shows pretty quick, and it's kind of nerve-wracking, frankly. And, talk about put your hands on the scales. I'm seeing things on the backside and people that are filing. I'm going, man, we got board members looking to put their hand on the scale, and I hope the intentions are good, but we're going to figure that out as we go along this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we hope that the general public will see it for what it's worth. But
some
then
of
again,
them do.
Yeah, and I think some do. Yeah,
and eventually all comes out.
Yeah.
If people do the right thing, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah,
but if you're going to come in with agendas, you're going to be branded and you're going to kick yourself. I've seen these people come and go throughout the years. And again, you got to give everybody the platform. Look at me when I came in. I had a hell of an agenda. And one of the greatest things I've learned through this opportunity of serving the community at this capacity, and I'll be grateful if I get another shot, and I understand if they don't want me. But at the end of the day, it's helped me a lot personally to grow and to learn. And I'm hoping that I can continue that path forward. Just the newer people who come on, just come in eyes wide open and know that the one or two things you're pissed off about, it's not real, but there's a lot more to deal with.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to take that all in.
Yeah. All right, Chad, how was your week? He's like, we already got into the talk, man. We're not.
I was plugging.
We missed it. Chad,
it's your turn to plug, brother. Go get it.
Plug the cans in.
It's been a week. I'll just put it to you that way. It's been a week. I learned a few things about myself this week, and one of them was how to cover a Board of Education and a City Commission meeting that are happening all at the same time. Thanks, by the way.
Yeah. Gotta love Memorial Day.
Yeah, gotta love Memorial Day. I was very disappointed that rain kind of screwed up Memorial Day in the morning and all that. But it just had a lot of challenges that I was able to rise to during the week. So I guess I can look back and say it was a success.
Yeah, you're a rock star. You're a rock star.
I wouldn't go that far.
I say it. I'll plug the cans in, since Chad is a humble guy and doesn't want to plug the cans in, but
I think I'm turning into the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
And that's, that means that my next tour is going to be sponsored by Geritol, and it might be time for to take a step back. But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I enjoyed the rain. It did kind of put a damper on things, that getting out and enjoying the outside time usually is what people generally do during that time. I didn't do much of that, obviously, for the same reasons as everybody else, but because I try to look at things in a context of continuous positivity, very thankful for the rain. I mean, everywhere we look, this is a refresher for us, because here in our area especially is a bullseye in the state of Kansas for drought, right? And I think that we could even talk a little bit about, I saw something come out on social media that you had put out, I believe, about the city of Newton and the fact that they were able to not be classified as a community which is in a water warning, right?
Right. Yeah. Thanks to the rain of May, I'm telling you, because that's and our so some of the test wells that we have, they came up about a foot over the weekend, and that means that we don't have to start a water warning. And that sounds kind of scary, and honestly it kind of is. When they institute a water warning here in town, they're going to start saying things like only water your yard every other day or on the even days, whatever,
Start putting in restrictions.
All of the stuff they'll come out with during a warning is voluntary. But at the end of the day, we have to figure out a way to not use quite so much water. We ever end up in a water emergency spot, I dude, I don't want to be there.
See, and I was going to cover something.
I do not want to be there at all.
It's funny that you say that. I had something in queue to talk about a certain water situation that's happening. There's a legal dispute out for the city of Hayes and the city of Russell. Got together, bought a portion of ground to ensure that they would be able to use the water rights of that ground in a different county. And now, because the fight's on for water, the county that they purchased the property in is putting up roadblocks to say, yeah, you're not going to use this water. But, water is a finite resource. We continue to think that it's just plentiful and will always be here and we'll always just be able to use it endlessly. In fact, I've heard people make the comment that, well, if I pay for the water, I should be able to have the water. There's got to be some perspective change on that to realize that there's only so much water to go around, and there's more people every day that need to consume clear, potable drinking water. And this just gets into a mess of, well, what do you do when you buy all the water there is to buy? And then as that resource becomes more valuable, then who can afford that water? So there's a lot there. Okay, so anyway, Chad, just to throw it back over to you, upcoming events.
There's one that I wanted to bring out today. I think it's the 7th. The 7th is one of those cosmic days where like everything in the world is going to happen, including my parents' auction. If you want to buy an old MG, show up at 1000 Columbus, you can have a shot. But the senior center is going to be having like an open house, and I think there's like a dance in the parking lot across the street, and the Golden Notes Choir and all that kind of stuff. That's something that I haven't actually gotten onto my community calendars yet. For other stuff, check the community calendar.
And I actually have the community calendar right in front of me, Chad. So I'm going to do a quick rundown here.
Lance.
Okay. Boom. So this came from the Kansan, May 27th, the Tuesday edition. Chad, once again, the reason why I send a shout out to the Kansan is all of the things that you provide information-wise, very straightforward in many cases, and I just got to say, over time, I've learned that you don't take a side. You're not a pen for hire. The whole thing. You're not into sensationalized articles. You just put it the way it is. But all the same. So bear with me, folks. I'm going to read off some stuff here. May 31st, 8 a.m. to noon, Harvey County Farmers Market. We haven't sent a shout out to the Harvey County Farmers Market. It's up and running. That happens at 301 North Main in Newton. 7 o'clock the same night, you have patio night at Wild Prairie Event Center. You can sing like a star. Wild Prairie Event Center, 1610 Southeast 3rd. At 7 p.m., same day, Newton Weekday Bible School, 100-year celebration, Santa Fe Gym, Lindley Hall. That's at 720 North Poplar Street. Let me get through this, folks. June 3rd, 5:30 p.m., Beat the Heat Summer Series, Newton Saddle Club Arena, 701 West 1st Street. Another group that we haven't given a shout out to because they've got all kinds of stuff that go on during the summer. If you follow them on their Facebook page, Newton Saddle Club, I know for certain that they have just one thing after the next. So it's easy to go and attend that stuff. I know they really appreciate that when you do. Tallgrass Express String Band, hailing from Flint Hills town of Allendale at Dyke Arboretum, or Dick Arboretum of the Plains in Heston. You can reach out for more information at dickarboretum.org/events. That's at 7 p.m. on June 3rd. June 4th, 7 p.m., the Quilters Film Screening, 209 South Pine. This is an event by Offender Victim Ministries, Community Chaplain Response Team, and Peace Connection. And then I think we got one more before we can go back around this next week. June 5th, 5:30 p.m. Oh, the Possibilities Spaghetti Fundraiser is at Kansas Christian Home, 1035 Southeast 3rd Street. There is a suggested donation of $20 a plate. RSVP to Sam Schaefer. We've had her on the program a couple times at 316-283-6600 extension 116. Or you can email her at schaefer@kansasKSChristianHome.org. And then next week we'll have more for you guys on the program of what's coming up. Okay, anything in the Kansan that you want to talk about that has been or is coming out here this week, Chad?
Had a story here not too long ago about where the cottonwoods. What was it? Where the cottonwoods grow.
Yeah. Story of the Mennonites coming to Kansas.
Is the U.S. premiere of that movie is going to be June 1st at it's hosted by Coffin Museum, but it's going to be on the Bethel College campus.
Very cool.
And so I found speaking to the director of that film to be quite enjoyable. So I think that was I don't know. Holiday weeks just mess with my brain and mess with my calendar so much, but that would have been in the Kansan either Saturday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
Little information about that. And
I read about it.
Yeah, it's kind of a, I know there's people who don't agree with me, and I know that there's people who don't agree with the statement, but the Mennonite history is a really big deal for our community.
Oh, yeah. All across Kansas.
So,
yeah. The time in which the great expansion westward was taking place, a lot of Mennonites came here, along with many, many other people of different faiths coming here to find refuge.
Yeah.
And then we got the hard red turkey wheat. I mean, we are very fortunate to have a very steep history, especially in Mennonite history, in this area. The Newton, Heston, Hillsboro, Halstead, McPherson, even just a plethora of just rich history from immigration tied to faith and economic development, and just wonderful, especially in the agricultural community. All the things that they offer. So get out to Kaufman Museum. It's a great place there, right across from Bethel College. It's another opportunity to learn more about it, and what they have to offer and what they've offered our community over time. And that's how we got all the Mennonites around here like Chad.
Well, not me. I went through a little bit different path.
The Iowan.
But yes, I mean, yeah.
Same time frame. Okay, so there was one thing I wanted to ask about, and I said it at the beginning of the program because we were talking about water and rain and everything. What's the deal with the specifics on what took place at the Newton City Commission meeting last night with the understanding that we're not in any kind of a water warning?
Just that they're not going to have to bring out a bunch of precautions right now. We're still pretty dry around here, even after all this rain that we've had. I think we were still listed on the drought monitor last Thursday, if I remember my check right. And so what we're wanting to avoid is ending up in a spot where City Hall, and I would think with maybe a little help from NPD, because they're just going to need people, is driving around town and telling people, you can't do that. You cannot water your yard at all. You can't do that. You can't wash your car. You can't do that. Love it that your kids are using the slip and slide, but you cannot use any water outside of your house. That's what happens during the emergency situation. And what it's all tied to is how much our wells drop. They don't have any jurisdiction over private wells. So for people who have drilled their own well in their backyard, they don't have jurisdiction over your use of that well. But they'd sure love it if you would not make your neighbors jealous during a warning or during an emergency.
Be selling well water at $10 a gallon or a cubic foot, because that's how we measure it here.
And also that's also a part of a water emergency designation. That opens up the city commission to charge emergency rates. You think they're high now, folks? You don't want to go through the emergency rates.
Yeah.
Because they'll only get higher.
I gotta say, driving around, I don't see a whole lot of people that use a lot of water anyway in Newton. So maybe that's our situation.
I see people watering their yards in the rain. I mean, and I get it. You've got, you've set your timer. I got it. I gotcha. Okay. Right now, I don't think you need to water your yard. You just don't.
I see
Well,
people wash their car.
Yeah, that in the rain.
That's wild to me.
Yeah, and unless it's happening at one of your car washes, they probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you feel free.
Take it to
Feel
the
free,
car wash.
but-
Take it to the car wash for crying out loud.
But
Dang it,
yeah,
man.
no, it's just the reality. We're coming out of a prolonged drought, like years long, and so it's going to take time for us to really recover from all of that. We may never, depending on the weather. We may never, but it's just the reality, and it's why on Sunday, when I went running up to see my good buddy Myron up at the Pine Edge Golf Course, and he looked at me and he goes, "Man, I have no idea what the thing's going to be like out there. It's been raining so much." And I said, "Well, I'm just going to go make the best of the situation. This is my first opportunity to get out on the course in weeks, and so I'm just going to go do her." And we get around to the 6th fairway, and it's mostly flooded out. Well, now we're teaching ourselves how to play the hole a little bit differently, and trying to teach our kids to not walk through the flood. But but it is what it is.
Okay, speaking of...
But that was a blessing because of where we've been.
Yeah, and I got to say, I should have said this at the beginning of the program, but I don't know how many people frequent the 81 Speedway. You just triggered my mind, muddy mess, and I went with the family, and we watched the monster trucks that they had going on there, and it was a little wet. They were having some areas where they were getting stuck, and I just thought, it's been a long time since I went to the 81 Speedway and watched an event, and it was very family friendly. It's just a great place. It's something that's nestled there right off of Broadway, so I don't know how many people know about that being an opportunity to go and enjoy things. But I was looking at their schedule of events, and they've got all kinds, like every weekend they've got something. And I don't think that rain necessarily deters what they're doing. Maybe too much rain, there is such a thing, but at the same time, well, when you get out there and they're slinging mud and it's looking, I mean, it was something
You're watching
else.
like this.
Oh, it was something else. It was great. And it's like we sit right there in the front row, and so then it's like every once in a while you'd get a little bit, and it's like, well, maybe this is why nobody's sat in the front row. But still, it's a lot of fun. Get out to 81 Speedway if you got an opportunity. Support that business. It is local. It's just a few miles away. Valley Center is still local to us. Support Newton, but support Harvey County, and support the small communities in and around Wichita, because they value your dollar, I promise you. And they do everything they can to provide a fun, family-friendly event and to provide entertainment for people. You can't beat it. Okay, so before we go too much farther, just want to welcome Jason Smith. I remember him from way back in the day. He may not remember me or whatever, but acquaintances. He has just now been hired through USD 373 as the Director of Facilities and Maintenance. If you get a chance, go to Newton School's Facebook page, read a little bit about his bio. I had no idea that he left and went into the military, had a lifelong career in the military.
20 years.
20 years. And has now...
Active duty was 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, think about it.
And then he did some contracting with the military after.
Yeah, and he's coming home. And we appreciate you, and that speaks volumes to the kind of community that we offer. When we talk about negative Nancy's and it comes to our community, there are people that literally have anywhere they can go in the United States, Jason being one of them. I promise you, he being one of them. And he chose to bring his family back here so they could be raised in the same community that he was once raised in, to have his kids in the schools here, to enjoy the amenities that we have to offer, and looks at Newton as a bright place to live, work, and play. We hear that cliche, but it is what it is. Okay, I cannot remember for the life of me the Harvey County Commission new county manager.
administrator Kevin?
Yes, Kevin. Okay, Fryemeyer. Okay, so I as everybody knows, I watch the county commission regularly. I watch the school board regularly. I watch the city commission regularly. I watch Halstead now regularly. But I try to catch all these. And there, we talked last week about being involved, being informed, watching these budget session hearings, knowing what's going on in advance of decisions that are made. I did see a couple of blips of him there, but I think mostly right now, and I'm just going to assume through this budget cycle, because he's not from the public sector, but from the private sector, there's got to be a big learning curve. Right. So right now, I know that the city or the county finance director is really working through this process with the commission. And I was wondering if by chance either one of you had the opportunity to watch that.
What?
The most recent commission meeting.
The budget sessions?
Well,
or just the commission meeting?
Both, because I want to bring something up about...
I went to the commission meeting, and then because it was Tuesday and I had to go hang out with Andy and that crew while trying to hang out with Daniela and her crew, I did not sit through the budget sessions.
Okay.
And a lot of times I don't.
Yeah.
I just kind of wait for that big 3-ring binder that I can go through after they're done with all their hashing.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the point as far as the budget session hearings with the county is concerned, and I know is probably similar with other entities. People go and make their I guess I don't know, but make their asks. I don't know if that's the right grammatic way to say that.
They submit budgets, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So there was Health Ministries was there, and they requested X amount of funding, and then of course they'll go through all of these different entities. But something before we talk about the budget situation, I want to talk a little bit about the county commission and were you there for the Pete's Puddle conversation?
Of course.
Okay. It seemed like it got, well, I don't know how I want to say it.
Cantankerous?
Contentious. There we go. I'm with you.
Okay,
And it wasn't, there were people that were a little cantankerous. I would agree that it brought out the cantankerousness of some individuals. And I thought to myself, man, there's a real breakdown in communication that's happening here. This is what I took out of it. Breakdown in communication. People were communicating to speak rather than to listen. I think that there's a problem that surfaced between Pete's Puddle and then planning and zoning, the responsible party for that, and then also the commission. Would you agree with that? Like, all in all, I mean, we can get into the weeds here, which I plan on doing, but
I plan on doing that.
It seems
we're walking that way.
Do you want me to like kind of give the audience the rundown real quick, or?
There is definitely conflict here. Me personally, I'm not willing to give my opinion publicly as to where that conflict is coming from.
Okay.
Dang it. Well, it's
Are there some tea leaves in the air yet? I understand.
I just feel like I need to
Professional cap.
experience a little bit more and take in a little bit more of these conversations. I'm gonna point out that some of the conversations about Pete's Puddle and with planning and zoning and the county commission have occurred when folks from Pete's Puddle were not there. And that those occurred in open meetings that had been noticed, and it was on the agenda, so people knew that those conversations were going to occur. But persons representing Pete's Puddle, whether that's just community supporters or members of ownership, they were not there. So that's part of my lens on this thing. And I will go here. They presented the commission with a copy of a resolution from 2024 and stated that this resolution, according to having that resolution, that means that everything that they wanted to do should be approved. I was at the meeting where that resolution was presented. The story that was given about that resolution yesterday does not match what I experienced. And also, while that resolution is available for people to read on the county website, that resolution has never been voted on. It has never been approved. And because it has never been approved, the special use permit has never been approved. I'm just, I remember very vividly that Randy Haig said, what we need to do is tell them that if they comply with these conditions and they go through this process, that we will approve it.
Yeah.
Because I, as a businessman, wouldn't do any of this work if I felt like I wasn't going to get approved when I got it done. And I totally agree with him, and that's why I remember it so vividly.
Yeah, I was there for that meeting.
And it was kind of at that point that they were like, we're going to sit it over here. These guys need to get to work. And then you get to yesterday where some of the work that needs to be done, and they've been working, they've been trying. And I don't think anybody in yesterday's meeting would deny that statement. Planning and zoning might question some of the methods employed, but they would acknowledge that work has been going on. But yesterday was not about the special use permit. Yesterday was about a different permit, a conditional use permit, so that they could have some music festivals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they denied that conditional use permit yesterday, and it's because so many things are not done. And when you really drill down on it yesterday, now this right here, this statement is an interpretation. When you really drill down on it yesterday, at least one of the commissioners was really concerned about the water situation out there. And, while you sit and you listen to the owners say, okay, we've addressed this, we've addressed that, we're just waiting on the state permit. Gotcha. But you don't have the state permit. And the Planning and Zoning Board, not just the director, the board, put it in writing that permit has to be obtained. So that was a big issue for the conditional use permit, and one of the reasons that they chose to not issue that conditional use permit. So Pete's Puddle, in that instance, is a victim of circumstance because no one can make the state move any faster. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't understand when it comes to trying to get permitted to do certain things in the county, at Pete's Puddle, etc., that there's a long red tape, and there's a lot of check marks that need to happen on this. I left, so we'll run through this real quick because we got other things to cover, but I personally, after watching that, felt like there should be a lot more discussion with consideration on both behalves. I think that Pete's Puddle could do a better job, the representatives of that, to understand where the commission is coming from. I think there could be better communication from the commission, right, to them to say, because something I thought was interesting was not one commissioner had gone out there and had a discussion with them about anything. Not one. Right? So when there's these questions that are happening, when they're asking for what we're supposed to do, they feel like they're complying to the best of their ability to move this down, the road. They've got all these different things happening. There were many, many things. If you get a chance, you should go back and watch the meeting and that portion of it for certain, and get, and formulate your own opinion on it. But I just feel like that could have been handled so much better, and I don't necessarily fault Pete's Puddle necessarily, but more the commission, in my opinion. I think there could be a lot more that the commission, because it seemed to me that the commission was like not very receptive to I mean, it's hard to formulate an opinion because
if I were to put myself into the chair of a county commissioner in this situation, I'm kind of tired of this whole thing. Just being honest. I'm kind of tired of it. And there were 11 conditions put on them by the Planning and Zoning Commission. 11. If you want to know what those are, they're being published for about the 5th time by the Newton Kansan on Thursday.
there you go.
So it's not.
You're a rock star. Once again.
It's not like they don't know what the conditions are. Quite honestly, everybody can and should know what the conditions are.
So is this sorry to interrupt, but is this Pete's Puddle sounds like, from what I'm hearing, they don't want to meet in the middle somewhere. Is that what's going on?
There is no meeting in the middle.
And
there's conditions, and you got to meet them, and that's that.
Dingo.
Yeah.
So
There's
then this is a mute
so
issue.
if I can.
So if you're sitting there as a commission, and it's like it's already done.
Yeah, if I can speak really frankly,
beating it up.
Yeah,
exactly. I see what you're saying
Pete's
now.
Puddle, and so in defense of Pete's Puddle,
So
what
they
they're
should have
saying
been involved in the communications way earlier.
Yeah.
And they have to go a different route if they don't like some things, and they have to go through a process. But at this point, those conditions, those 11 conditions, that's done. It's table stakes.
Yeah.
So unless you're going to work the back channels and communicate and figure out how you can make a case for some of that to be shifted, this is a mute issue.
See, and to disagree, to healthily disagree, I'll say this: there could have been an opportunity, and my opinion is that maybe this is what the commission should have done, which is to say, hey, we realize that you're trying to meet these requirements. We realize that there are some things that are lagging behind, that are out of your control, but we want to work with you. So what we're going to do is tentatively agree that this conditional use permit can move forward as long as we continue to see progression on these certain specific areas. So it doesn't, because basically what Pete's Puddle is saying is, and this is not happening, but it seemed like they were coming at it from, you're shutting our business down. You are shutting our business down, because there were multiple times in which they tried to express how they felt the economic impact of Harvey County was benefited by what they're trying to do. They're trying to make this place,
sure,
and
it is,
yeah.
But,
so there could have been some So my question is it Pete's Puddle then that's responsible for meeting halfway?
You're saying that,
or is it the commission's
I'm hearing directly
responsibility?
is, so I want to get out of the dancing around. You're feeling like, what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, the commission is not very business friendly in this situation.
Exactly.
So somebody that's driving traffic and been operating a business, you feel should be catered to when asked to hear them out. And you feel like there's just a big brick wall.
I agree. Yes.
But
yes.
The other involvement on the other side, though, is how engaged were they up until this point?
Well, from what Chad said, not necessarily the way maybe I would have been given the situation.
But here's the thing. This is a planning and zoning issue. This is a planning and zoning issue. And if you go, read through state statutes and responsibilities and all of that stuff, there's really only one place where the commission is responsible for what I would call is a planning and zoning issue. It's kind of funny. It really kind of gives you an idea about the state that we live in. And that issue is fence disputes. If there's a fence dispute, the county commission is the responsible party to go out, take a look, and decide who's in the right and who's in the wrong. This stuff that we're talking about, I mean, I hate to get to the granular detail, but we kind of have to.
Well, and people learn when they listen to this stuff of how things work.
This stuff that we're talking about,
educate and inform.
One of the things that that has been asked for is a list of construction that's been done in the floodplains. What they're really asking about are the porches, ramps, entrances, and all of those kinds of things that people have built on to their little cabins or mobiles that are out there. Those things required a building permit before they were constructed.
Got it.
But there were no building permits pulled.
So do you think there's an element of like some
You see what I'm
libertarianism
saying?
going on here where people think that they should be able to build what they want?
And I'm about a lot of that till something like this happens. And this is the thing. You got rules and regulations. And I feel like, I'm going to zoom out a little bit.
Sure.
I feel like something happened in a classroom. Let's put the lens on if this happened in the school district.
Sure.
And tell me if I'm wrong. But I feel like something happened in a classroom and a decision was made, and the decision's been made. And now the school board's sitting there listening to the grievances, but it's like, that wasn't my decision to make. Matter of fact, there's another layer of that down there, and this is not really my thing. This is not our thing. Yeah. Yes, it's under the umbrella, but there's been a whole team that's dealt with that, which would be the building principal and that teacher and everything else.
Defer to administration.
Where at the end of the day, Fred shouldn't even hear about it.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. He shouldn't, because he has other fish he needs to be frying that are the different caliber fish. Not that that's not important and it's not a critical thing, but that's why we have good people in place. So those things don't get to Fred so he can do his job. So they are doing their job, etc. So I feel like this is a classroom issue where the commission's sitting there going, what do you want us to do? This is not our fight. But they have to sit and listen because there's formalities, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I feel. And so that now that point that you made, that mute point, it makes sense to me of why they're kind of like, like we've got so many other things on this agenda right now that really need our attention.
Yeah.
And we might get into some more of that here in a little bit.
And it did get to that point. I mean, they wanted to move on.
And I want to make sure
times.
that people catch a concept of where Pete Puddle's been put. Right? They got handed a big list. It's not something that could be done overnight. Okay? Period. They got handed a big list, an 11-point list. Some of that stuff, honestly, it's kind of a but an inventory of all the porches and whatever else, it's going to take them a little time to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
And it also
I get it. And the dude's been out there working his butt off trying to make this stuff happen. But none of it happens overnight.
Right.
And that's why they didn't and haven't made any move on the special use permit. That's the one that determines whether or not they can continue to do business or not.
Yeah. And I couldn't even imagine being out there and saying, hey, I'm going to build this. Somebody said, yeah, you can build that, and then have to come back later at a different point in time and say, well, we made a mistake. We told you could build it, but technically you're supposed to get a permit for that.
Correct.
And this has changed over time. Where in the past you could just build it, but now you can't because those regulations, specifications have changed. Okay.
So to make it right, here's your compliances you have to do now to make it right before we can approve it, because now there's liability and da-da-da-da-da.
Yes.
Oh man, it starts a whirlwind of
and it
expenditures.
is.
It's just nutty.
Very unfortunate
It's
situation.
nutty.
Yeah. But it's also part of the process. I mean, it goes back to that. Should I be able to? I mean, there was a discussion here that used to take place. Like in the city of Newton, if I decided I wanted to knock down this wall in my house to open up my dining room and my living room and make it a flow through, well, in the past you could do that, but not everybody is a structural engineer. And just because you're a private homeowner and you decide, hey, this is what I'm going to do, that might work in the short term, but the long term, that's not going to work. And so then when you take
sagging
and you transfer ownership, well, I'm going to sell my house, and the reason that people come in to buy the house are like, wow, I love this flow through kitchen to the dining room and living room. That's great, but yet they're purchasing a house and they don't realize that this
no
homeowner
support beam was put across the top, and that's literally just hanging on gravity.
Yeah, just a 2x4, linear. No,
maybe two.
No header. Yeah, I mean, did they put it the right way
with
or the wrong way?
holding them in between?
And that this is part of, okay, so moving on with the Harvey County Commission and the budget hearing and everything, I heard, and if I'm not mistaken, Chad, that they're looking at like close to $1 million budget deficit as it stands right now. Did you hear that?
This is so normal, it's not even funny.
So where I'm at is the commissioners were talking about how they wanted to make sure that they didn't raise the mill levy. So they're stuck on this, not going to raise the mill levy again, which is understandable. I mean, they have people that
should try real hard
in their ear about it or whatever. But at some point in time, are we not going to reach this situation? It's like with the sheriff's department and the lack of federal inmates that they're allowed to house, primarily because of the condition of the facility, which needs investment. They're looking at the project at the courthouse. I mean, I stood up and ran, and I'm just going to say this was something that needed to be addressed. I kept saying it over and over and over again that there's like $20 to $30 million of potential investment that's going to have to be made in our community. So, and I was being conservative.
Yeah, more. So, much more.
So they're going to have to figure out a way to pay for this, but instead of coming to the community, my opinion, and saying, hey, we're going to try to keep this mill levy flat, which, okay, that's great, but at what expense? Right? Because when you're talking copy paper and you're talking copy paper machines and you think that somehow or another, with this thousands of dollars that it takes for copy paper and copy machines and ink and upkeep and maintenance and contractual agreements, that somehow or another by slashing that in half, you're going to make up $1 million of a budget deficit, or the $30 million that you might have to pay to do this, and that's not even talking about road and bridge department. So I'm just, it's like this feeds into what we're going to talk about here later. But before we go too much farther down that road and elected officials and competency and why you choose to vote somebody in and single issue candidates and the whole thing, we're going to cover this later for I don't know how many times we've done this on the program, but hey, you know what, the message is the same. Have you all been aware of something that has transpired with the Harvey County Treasurer's Office, Becky Field specifically?
I've heard some scuttlebutt.
Okay, what have you heard so far, Andy?
So I heard that there was a commissioner that took a citizen to meet with the county attorney on an internal issue that was happening in one of the departments. Later find out that a county commissioner got information from the newly elected county treasurer, who won't take office till October, I think.
That's correct.
Which is an interesting scuttlebutt in itself, that we have that gap like that. And I'm wondering what the state's going to do to help fix that stuff, because that's not a...
I wouldn't expect the state to do anything.
There's too many other things going on out there.
Yeah, and I think there's a reason.
They are the ones who set that up.
Yeah.
And I want to know why. Does anybody know why, before I keep going on this, what I heard?
Naively, what I would like to say through my very little research with this has to do with when taxes are due, when taxes are collected, when they're overdue, when that's finalized, and then there being a break where all of this stuff has taken place.
It's already in process.
Laws are in place, and then you're picking up in October when is the best time for you to come in, and there not to be confusion and two hands in the pot at the same time and just accountability.
Interesting.
That is very little research from what I understand to be the case.
Thank you for that. Yeah. That's a big deal for me. Okay, so what I've, again, heard, just from the being involved in the community in different pockets, as we all are, and then it came out that the newly elected treasurer was the one that reported to the county commissioner, and they're friendly, and that's fine. We have relationships like that in the small community like this, in small city, all the time. and it's a small group when you're in and out of those buildings. And I understand that. The thing is, it was called out by another commissioner that it didn't go through a process that it possibly should have went through before they went that far. And there's some baggage with that whole situation through the campaign and all the nasty politicking that goes on, because yes, politics is in everything at some level, unfortunately. Yeah, all the stuff, all the stuff. So there's already a lot of murky, muddy water in that whole situation. And then to find out the people, and then it's not to be transparent and say Perkins and Reimer went in to talk to the county attorney about the whole situation. It should have just been said like that.
Yeah.
Because then you know, hiding names or not saying names, it just makes you look like you're hiding things for a reason. It's like, why? Just tell them, put on the table what's going on.
Yeah.
All the way. And then let it fall in its place. I mean, those little things just make it weird. And I know you may be trying to protect somebody, or I don't know.
But it's all public information anyway.
Right.
You know, it's all going to come out anyway. You might as well just say it.
Just say it. And you don't have to be ugly about it. And that just kind of put me on my heels a little bit and going, wow, that's what happened. So anyways, it causes an environment of, it's like piranhas nipping at your heels. And it's like, is there something there? Is there not something there? There's so much speculation. It makes everybody look bad in a situation like that. Just go through the process. And people usually that bang away at the drum of the corruption or the underlining them against us stuff are really the ones doing it. Mm-hmm. And this is the part that I'm taking out of this. It's like, man, the same things that we complain about, the majority of us complain about what's happening in Washington and the good old boys club, as they call some of us, and all these things. It's like, you're actually doing that.
Yeah, it's local.
And it's like, and you're saying that everybody else is doing it, but you're the one doing it. And if you don't have a group, you do it every time you get a chance when you don't live in a place where you could do it, but you choose not to do it. And you play by rules and you have a little bit of options to do it, and you're doing it every chance you get.
Yeah.
And what the heck? Right?
I used to think,
I'm struggling with this stuff. But anyways, that's how I'm looking at it from the little bit I've heard.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's true or not true, because that's about all I know. And I'm just going to let this stuff bubble up to the top, and it's probably going to be a big nothing burger. And people made each other look bad, and they're beating up on things that shouldn't be beat up on. And if there's something there should be consequences.
And that's where I have two things. One, I naively believed before I endeavored to be involved in local politics, if you want to call it that there was a major problem that I saw at the national level. That this is at the national level, and this is why our day-to-day is screwed up. And this is why so many things are happening outside of our control, because this is the modus operandi of how these people operate. And then I found out, no.
It's happening right next to you.
It is right
here.
People
with an agenda are bringing their teams to the table to just cause havoc and make things the way they want to make it, because they got all the answers, and you just need to trust them and shut up.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're out.
And dishonesty runs amok.
Ridiculous.
Like we have these situations where, and I'll just bring this up, not to go national, but let's go national, real quick before we circle back around. You have Biden, that former President Biden, who has now, the media has let loose that he has an aggressive form of prostate cancer that's metastasized. Okay, so a death sentence, basically. And with that being the case, you have people going out and saying, good, I hope he dies. I'm glad he died. I see it all the time. I hope he dies a horrible, miserable death or whatever, and everything else. It's like, we're talking about a human being here, right? Somebody that you may not agree with their policies, but they're not the devil incarnate, okay? So there's this blind hatred for the other side, right? But then at the same time, the same person that wishes that Biden would just die a miserable, horrible death of his prostate cancer that he has, and has inability to humanize this individual as somebody that just believes differently than they believe, are the same people that would throw a fit about this 86-47 thing going on right now. Okay. But yet then, on the other hand, all these people that are in the Biden camp that are like, oh, this is horrible. This is the worst thing that ever took place. And what a great man. And he's, going to suffer and his family's going to suffer. And all these people that suffer from this are identifying with this individual, and cancer kills and is a horrible thing. Well, it's okay to 86-47 because we hate him.
Interesting.
So it's like, okay, well then bring that down to local level. So the
86-47, for those people that don't know, was our ex-FBI director, Comey, who took a picture on a beach, who said, oh, interesting form of seashells. It looks like a political message. When he said, oh, I just walked upon it and found that. When about a year and a half ago, he did another, or a year ago, about voting for Kamala, basically in seashells, and took a picture of it and said, what's her name? Ariel's telling us who to vote for, something about protecting our country. It's like, oh, it happened twice to you on the same beach.
Liar.
But this stuff just ends up coming out, though. The fake and the theater and all that. It's like, it all comes out.
It always comes out too late, though. And see, this is the thing, is the lag effect. I personally think it does, because what happens is you have, and this can lead into our next thing here, okay? Our election deadline is coming up. Well, I don't want to move on past this yet, okay? I just want to say I got some information about accusations against Treasurer Miss Becky Fields, okay?
Right.
And what I understand transpired, real quick, because this will feed into what we were going to say, is there was an individual that made an accusation that they went in and they were trying to pay their taxes in cash.
Okay.
So then somehow or another,
really dumb idea, by the way.
Okay. Yeah. Well, hey, let's not take.
I'm just putting it out there. That is an absolutely stupid idea.
Why didn't you get a receipt? Okay. Well, I didn't get a receipt. Accusation made from individual.
So went in,
or
paid
claim.
Cash. Do we know how much?
I don't. I'm assuming a couple
few $1,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Enough to get pissed about, right?
Yeah.
So then from there, this individual does this and supposedly has a conversation with Treasurer Fields or Treasurer Opland, however you want to say it. Most everybody knows her as Becky Fields. So then from there, it was, well, I didn't get a receipt. Well, why didn't you get a receipt? Oh, well, because she told me she was going to give me a receipt the next following day and never gave me a receipt the next following day. Then that gets into a little more gray area. But this claim is made. This accusation is made. Well, then obviously the onus on the treasurer's office is to be transparent and say, hey, let's get to the bottom of this. You're making this claim. Let's see if we can substantiate proof to say that this is what's transpired. So they go in and they watch the camera footage from the time in which this person says that they were in and around this date and time.
Pause. This is after the elected incoming treasurer and the county commission went to report it.
Yes.
This is after.
This is after the fact. Like, hey, I'm going to clear my name, basically. Yeah. Okay, so then they don't really know what date it was, but they think it was in and around a certain day, so it kind of gets even more gray. And so they go in and they watch the video footage of everything that took place within a month's period of time. Nowhere on the camera does it show that this individual who made this claim that they went in and paid and said what happened actually happened.
Pause. That time for that person to do that costed more than copy paper. Start.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my thing. Okay, this feeds into this, right? And we'll let we'll let all of it happen. People act like, and then also in this society here, we've got this issue that, well, if there's a claim that's made, then that if you make a claim that a crime has been committed, then immediately the response is that the police investigate that. That's not a criminal sentence, okay? That doesn't mean you're guilty. That doesn't mean there's something there. That doesn't mean anything that some people will try to allude to, right, to make somebody look bad or to feed a narrative. All it is the process in which takes place. If I said, hey, I think Chad did this, and I think Chad did this on this certain day, or I think Andy did this on this certain day at this certain time, or in and around this certain time, or whatever the case may be, then that goes to law enforcement, and then law enforcement investigates it. Then once they do their job and they investigate
money,
it,
by the way.
Yeah.
Yes,
right.
It does.
Lots of money. Okay. But you take them investigating it. Just because the police are investigating my claim does not mean that anybody is guilty of anything. But we oh my goodness, the police are investigating it. Oh, they must be guilty. Right. And this is this whole societal thing that we have right now, that just because the police are investigating, furthermore, just because you're charged with an offense does not mean you're guilty. And we've got this hit-piece society that because the charges are filed, then all of a sudden we want to say, oh, well, that person is being charged with something. Just because they're being charged with something doesn't mean what they're being charged with is actually accurate, nor does it mean that they're going to be found guilty of that. That's what a jury of our peers are for. Okay, so all the same, this is where we come to claims, okay? During political times, during elections, all of this, there are so many accusations and so many warrantless claims that people throw out that say that
I want to be a part of something, but never get in.
Don't tell anybody that I said this because it's confidential or whatever the case may be. And it blows my mind. It really does blow my mind. And it's probably because I'm a critical thinker where I'm like, well, just because you say it doesn't make it true. People there's some lying ass people out here.
Yeah.
Okay. There are lying ass people that will say whatever they can say to be able to justify what they did. I mean, think about when you're a kid. Okay. How many kids will go reach their hand in the cookie jar and will get out a cookie and will have cookie mess all over their face, and they've got cookie crumbs from their bedroom to the cookie jar, and you ask them, did you get into the cookie jar last night?
No.
Nope. Okay, so let me explain this to you, okay? I'm going to show you why I'm coming to the conclusion that you have done this, okay? Because here's A, B, C, D, and E, and you've got cookie crumbs on your pillow. You still have cookie crumbs on your mouth. Obviously, last night, after everybody went to bed, you came down and got a cookie because you were told you couldn't have a cookie, and you brought it up to your room to hide it and have a cookie. Generally speaking, what will happen is the next time that they try to do the same exact thing, they'll just cover up the trail. Okay, so we have people that have gotten very crafty about how it is that they're going to operate the way they operate. And I have been in situations with certain people, you know who you are, who thought that I was part of their group. I saw how they operated, okay? And then that same operation, when I'm no longer part of this group, gets operated against me. So, speaking of elections, filing deadline coming up.
Actually, I've had to deal with the same thing. I think it's the same group too.
I'm sure.
And you know, there's people that are masters at inferring things,
yeah,
but never really lying.
Just had it done today on
let
me.
You take you and let you run with it, and they'll go infer some things to gossiping people, and then they'll go do what they do with it, and then they'll say, "Well, I don't have time to do that," and you're like, dude. Dude, you just sat here with two of your friends and said that you don't know anything about this, but yet you know all about this.
Yeah.
And they don't even worry about you, that you're lying right in front of them, to me, when we all know here what happened, and you're still trying to hold that lie right in front of everybody. And you want me to trust that? So I've seen it firsthand.
Well, and is it a mental issue? I mean, I don't mean like a mental impairment. I mean, like, what is it in somebody's mind that, well, I believe Becky Fields is a crook, and don't you know that she did this, that, the other, and everything else, and then you find out that, well, really didn't do anything, and that nothing actually happened, but they still go out and they put the same message forward, and then that gets other people to believe that, and so then of course then they want to be part of whatever it is, and group think that they have, oh, this happened to me too, and all of a sudden, and it's like, whew, where did we go?
It's wild.
Right? And then this happens when it comes to our politics. Every time we turn around, when it comes to election time, I'm finding that the same thing just continues to cycle through. And when you talk about inference, Andy, that's so spot on. I can't tell you how many times I've been on social media having a discussion, a factual discussion. I'm not irritated. I'm not upset about anything. I'm just having what I think to be a conversation where I'm trying to get information or understand where somebody's coming from. And they go, well, you ain't got to get all mad about it. Like, who's mad? You know,
I mean, like, questions.
I'm just asking questions. Well, you ain't got to get all worked up about it. Like, well, I like what you're doing here because you want to try to make it appear and put it in a frame of context that somehow or another I'm worked up about something. But the reality is I'm not worked up about anything at all. I'm just asking questions like, is there inference loss, whatever. But coming back to, obviously, the elections, and the filing deadline being this next Monday, June 2nd at noon. I've had a lot of discussions with people about all areas, obviously, because this is nonpartisan election cycle. So you've got school board, and you've got many school boards in Harvey County. You've got Newton City Commission. You've got these other commissions. So, how do we as individuals combat this constant cycle of accusation, claim, to the point where people don't even want to put their name in to serve the community because it's so toxic and the people that surround it are so toxic? How do we combat this, guys? And we're coming to the end of the program, so I just got to know.
It's a great question. I mean, from my perspective, kind of being in the trenches a little bit, I like this Ready to Run program that they started up. I think that's a future solution to what's happening now. I think we're 4 to 6 years out from seeing any fruits of that labor. I was talking to a friend of mine just the other day. But people, can have an agenda and be stubborn and let that drive them. But eventually it all starts coming out because I've seen it. And I saw it faster just because I'm a part of it. And I think other people are starting to see it over time, people that don't understand how they're projecting themselves. And basically, if you're not authentic, it's going to come out. Or if you're wishy-washy or you really don't have substance, eventually it comes out. Your talking points get old if there's no action behind them. And I think people just need to see that. And it's also part of the process, right? Because we have all types. And frankly, you need all types to make things better. I wish there was more than a two-party system. I think some of that's starting to shake itself out. But at the end of the day, people want to click together and they're going to go with what they know. And that stuff in today's day and age gets found out. It doesn't play well long-term. And when people can call out what you're going to do before you do it, that song has been sung. So it's just a matter of time before things shift, hopefully in a positive direction. We just got to do our best to be part of that positive shift. So that's kind of my 2 cents.
Chad?
We got to wake up and remember that we're indoctrinated by the internet. We are disciples of the internet. And we got to wake up to the idea that we are being manipulated. And we're allowing it just with this right here. It's sick. And it's the world that we're living in. And so for anybody that's thinking of putting their name on the dotted line on the 2nd, remember those things that I just said. Because it's going to come for you.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Man, so that's almost like final words. I should have just made that the final words. But while we're here,
Chad got deep again.
And we did go over
Chad GPT.
Chad GPT. We need to coin that. I'm telling you, we need to have some merch. Don't be a kookamoo, right? With a definition, Chad GPT.
There you go.
All right.
Need to get some NIL working.
Merch will soon be released for the podcast.
For real.
Let's watch
Coming
others.
Soon.
Let's watch others do the same thing in the near future. Okay, so
lead the way, baby. Lead the way.
Because it's bound to happen, right? The idea was come to birth here right now on the program, and so it won't be long before somebody else, takes ownership of that and proves it to be their own. So
I hope the rising ship raises all.
It does.
Rising water raises all ships, and let's see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. Final word, fellas. What do you got?
We're going to enter a crazy season again here pretty soon. And June 2 is the signal of it. And my final word is, folks, we already know we're going to have choices, which is an absolutely great thing. Absolutely. Just make sure that you are choosing wisely. And the greatest favor that can be done to you for this particular election is being done. And that is that there'll be no letters after those names. So vote like it.
Yeah. Andy?
Man, there's so many great things going on, and me just I'm be selfish here again. Just put my name back in the hat, and I was really struggling this time around for a lot of reasons. And I love this community a lot, and I think people that know me know that. And I'm struggling with some stuff and just want to get better for everybody around me. And I got long ways to go, but I have come a long way. So I appreciate all the support I've had up to this point, and everything from Bethel College, from walking into this community, to the businesses that I've worked for, and the companies that I've been able to start, and the companies I've been able to help start up and run. It's just been a blessing in my life to be here with all you all and all the people around us and our friends and family members. And I mean, Chad, I was neighbors to your parents, for God's sake, literally 3 houses down. And your dad's an awesome dude with a lot of energy, and your mom's the sweetest person that you'd ever meet. And it's just it's a small city, Lance. We have connections that go way, way back. And I remember giving a book to an individual to give to you when I was working at Prairie View. Not sure if you ever got that book, but here we are all these years later, building our relationship, and me watching you grow over the years and doing all the things you're doing and chasing your visions and your dreams and morphing and being stubborn and making it work for yourself and being an influencer in the community, and continuously refining yourself. And I'm very proud of you for that. And I'm grateful that you've allowed me to be a part of it, and just, a sounding board for you, and to watch you take action the way you have. It's just, I'm excited about our futures. I think there's a lot of potential in our kiddos in this community. We just got to continue to refine each other and be open. And I really want to not do the I have an agenda thing, and really serve this community open, all the way wide open, and do our time really well. And so I'm going to work my best to do that up until I can't no more. And as long as I'm breathing, I'm going to be serving somewhere, doing something, right? But at the end of the day, I'm going to run for school board again. We've got a lot to do. We've got some interesting dynamics that I'm hoping figures itself out, but you can count on me to do me the best I can. And Lance, we've had some discussions in the past. We don't always agree on things, but we've become stronger friends for it, right? And Chad, same thing. I appreciate the hell out of you, and I appreciate our relationship, and the fact that we just get to sit here and do this, right? And cast media in a different way and be the leaders in this area. Because, I don't know who's doing it better. I really don't. And I want more people to do it. I've been trying to get people to do this for a really long time. So to be here with you guys right now with an actual platform, knowing it ain't going away, it's exciting. So let's go change the world.
Yeah. All right, my final word is, put your thinking caps on, folks. Not everything you hear is true. Not everything someone says is true. Use your critical thinking skills. Ask yourself what motive this person may or may not have, what's in it for them. I hate to say it, but we live in a world where, I don't want to say it like this, but there's a sucker born every day. And what that means is there's an individual that doesn't use their critical thinking skills, thinks just because someone tells them something that it makes it true. They don't go through and do their due diligence. They don't try to inform. They don't try to educate themselves. Don't be a sucker. Have a good week, everybody.